Hey guys! Today I just want to take a few minutes to show you how I put together a 2-color heat transfer vinyl shirt. I hope you enjoy this. I would love to hear what you guys are working on, if you love making shirts and everything like that as much as I do. So if you do, drop a comment down below, and if you found this video helpful, give it a like. And without further ado, let's get on into it! I am going to now size this for the size I want. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to align everything. So you just select everything. And you can do that by clicking and holding shift down on all of the individual layers over here. Or you can just drag and select, which is what I find easier. So I'm going to come up here to align, and I'm going to click align center. And that centers everything up. I think it looks good. I think it looks nice and put together. Oops, that made it 2, and then I messed up the alignment again. Align center again. Okay, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna save it again. That's way we don't lose anything if we should lose power or whatever. Okay, so now, since I want this to be 2 colors, I want the text to be something different than what the moose is. I think for the moose, I want him to be white because it's going on a black shirt. I'm not super sure on the color I want the text to be yet. I know I'm doing white in a different color. So for now, we're just gonna make Mr. Moosey white. So I'm just gonna come over here and click white on the cut. That way it's going to split them into 2 separate cut mats, which will make more sense once we go to actually cut it out. So now that I have that done, I'm going to hold the moose and I'm going to hold down shift and click whisperer. It's going to look like it selected everything, but it didn't. It just selected the 2 font layers, and I'm going to attach those. And the reason I'm doing that is because if I hadn't, so I'm going to detach them, and I went up here and clicked make it. Here you can see we have Mr. Moosey, he's all good to go. But then if you come down here, you can see that it puts the 2 text layers super close together, which I don't want. I want it to stay formatted how it is on the screen. That way I don't have to worry about lining stuff up as much when it comes to putting it on the actual shirt. So the moose doesn't necessarily matter where it goes because that's separate. We're just going to have to line that up on our own when we go to make the shirt. I just lined it up when I was designing it so that I could see what it would look like. So I'm going to click cancel because I don't want to make anything yet. Now it's time to size it. So again, I'm going to select everything, and I want this to be, we'll start with 11.5 and see what that gives us. So right now it's showing it's going to be 11.5 by 10.3 inches, which isn't necessarily that big. So I'm going to up it to 12.5 inches and see. Okay, so that's giving me like 1.5 feet by 11 inches, which is not bad. This is the hard part, just kind of knowing what size you want to make it. So I'm gonna stick with this for now, and I'll measure for sure when I go to make the actual thing, when I go to cut out the actual vinyl. Okay, so I'm gonna come back and I'm going to select the 2 text again, attach them so I don't forget to do that. When you go to make it, so I'm gonna go to make it because I think it's ready to go. So there's my Mr. Moose. If it's bigger than a regular size mat, you'll get this warning that says at least one of your images is larger than 11.5 inches in height or width. So you're going to select OK, and that's just telling the program that yes, you know that it's bigger than the standard 12 by 12 mat and that you're going to use a long mat. So my moose is ready. Don't forget to mirror your image. I always do that before I do anything else. So here you can see Moose Whisperer. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of open space, but I'll show you in a minute how we're going to deal with that. So I'm going to mirror this also. And then I'm going to click continue. And it will sync with my machine, which I just turned on. It's kind of noisy. Now, I'm not going to show the machine cutting it or anything like that. That will be a totally different video. So I am going to go ahead and get my vinyl ready. I'm going to cut it out, and then I will show you how we apply the two separate colors. Okay, now we have all of our vinyl cut out. So I have my white, and then I also have my gold piece, and I already cut these down to size so that we didn't have to worry about doing that now. So what I did for the white, because like I had mentioned earlier, we would have a lot of waste if we left all of the sections in. So what I did is I actually took just plain scissors and just cut out the like middles with leaving just this strip. And this strip is just going to be here to help stabilize, not stabilize, but make sure that everything stays in line when we lay it down on the shirt. The backing of this is actually sticky, which helps when we stick it onto the shirt that it won't move. So now it's time to weed. So I most likely will only ever use, they're my favorite, I'll use this little guide that kind of looks like a dentist tool. And then I also have a pair of super sharp tweezers. This is just what I find works best to grab all of the things that I need to grab without messing up the other vinyl that we don't want to have messed up. I also have a little piece of masking tape here, and I just find that this is easiest to keep track of all of the little pieces that we're going to be taking out of the design. And I actually just stick it to the bottom of my stapler, and that way it doesn't go anywhere. So first thing I'm going to do is you're going to take a corner, and however you decide works best for you is what you should do. For me, it's taking a corner and bending it backwards. Sorry, it's kind of hard to see. The white doesn't like to show up in the light. So I bent it backwards. And now I'm just gonna kind of try and get the corner loose. I don't really know how else to explain it, but that is what I'm going to do. And if that doesn't work, then I'll end up just taking it and piercing it so that I can get a hold of it, and then just start pulling very carefully. Heat transfer vinyl is different from regular vinyl in a few ways. One of the most notable ways is that it's much harder to peel, like it feels more tough, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just something to get used to. So you can see it's already starting to peel the middle section out that we need, which is actually really nice. It'll cut down on our weeding time by quite a bit. So now you're just going to finish peeling this out. Okay, so now that I have the main background pulled out, I also went ahead and took out the middle of the E, as you can see, just so I have a reference guide when I'm going in to get all the little pieces out. And actually, so far, I thought this was going to be kind of terrible to weed because of all the little pieces, but on both the W and the E, just by pulling out the little middle section, it actually took out the entire thing, which is nice. I love that for me. So I'm going to go ahead and finish pulling out the middles of all of these, and then we will weed the moose. Mr. Moosey, he's here in this fun gold shade, and then we'll get to pressing the shirt. Now that I have the Moose Whisperer all cut out, which honestly that was way easier than I thought it was going to be. I am super glad for that. Actually, I think that this font turned out so cute, and I think it's going to look so good on the shirt. So now I'm just gonna move this one to the side, and then I am going to weed Mr. Moosey real quick. He will not take any time at all. Okay, now I'm going to get everything set up and we will press our shirt. So the first thing you want to do is take your shirt and you want to make sure that you take off all tags, stickers, anything like that, just to avoid accidentally melting something on a shirt. It would be such a shame to get so far on your shirt and then it not end up good because you melted something on top of it. So I'm just going to roughly lay out where I think the shirt should be centered. So the first thing you want to do is take your easy press or your iron or whatever you're using and just heat up your shirt a little bit. This gets all the moisture out and it also gives you a nice flat surface to stick your vinyl to. I'm just going to do that. Now, the first layer I want to do is going to be the words. That way, I know that they're centered and they're where I want them to be. And actually, I think I'm gonna flip my shirt because it's a little bit longer. I just use a regular ironing board to do all my stuff on. I think it works great. It's always worked good for me, so that's what I use. So I'm just gonna stick my shirt the opposite direction. This should also help me be able to center it easier. I like to put it so the collar, the edge of the collar is right at the edge of the ironing board because you're supposed to place it 3 to 4 fingers. I use 4 because I have tiny fingers. So I always do 4 fingers from the collar. So I'm just gonna put that on. I'm gonna repress it just to get all the wrinkles out since I moved it. Okay. Now, once I place the top one, then I'm gonna scoot it back just because again, like the whisperer part is falling off the edge. So I'm just gonna move this because it's about 4 fingers from the collar. It looks straight to me. So now I'm gonna move this to the edge. That way, hopefully, yes, we can just barely get everything fit on. Just gonna check that everything's lined up. I think it needs to scooch just a tiny bit. It's really nice that the back of the vinyl is sticky so that you can actually stick it and then you don't have to worry about it slipping around or anything. Oh, I moved it too far, so I'm gonna move it back a little bit. This is definitely probably the most tedious part of the whole process, is just figuring out what's center, is it actually center, is it straight, all of that stuff. So I think that looks good. So now I'm gonna go ahead and use my heat press. So I have my heat press set at 315 for 30 seconds. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna set it, hit the little green cricket button, and then wait for the timer to go off. So now that it's all heated, it's nice and hot, you're gonna let it cool for just a second, and you wanna start by checking one corner. So I can see that it's not pulling it up on the edge, so I'm just gonna keep slowly peeling it. So my whisper didn't stick as well as I would have liked it to on the bottom. So I'm gonna go back in and I'm just gonna reheat the bottom real quick. So now that I have this done, I'm just gonna put my extra off to the side. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my mousse and I'm going to place him. This is the hard part because this is not connected to anything else. So it's really up to you to place it where you think it looks good. And looks centered. It's kind of hard to tell because it's off, but I think that that looks pretty good. So since I already finished peeling this stuff off, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use, I have a Teflon sheet here. I don't know what it's made out of. I mean, Teflon, obviously. But I'm just gonna stick this over top, and then that'll protect the vinyl around it so I don't end up shrinking it up or melting it or anything. I'm just gonna stick that there and heat it for 30 seconds. Okay, so I'm gonna let this cool for just a second before I peel it. I'm just stick my backing off to the side. So now that everything is stuck on, I wanna make sure it's really, really stuck on there. So I'm going to take my Teflon sheet again, and I'm just gonna place it. You'll have to do it a couple different times because it's not quite big enough. And I'm just gonna go over with my Easy Press and just kind of make sure it's all pressed down nice and well. And then you're just gonna do that until you cover the whole shirt. And now your shirt is complete. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope you found this video very helpful and informative. I always found stuff like this super helpful when I was first starting my cricketing journey. Now I don't feel like a pro, but I definitely feel like I know a lot more than I did a few months ago. So yeah, I think that the shirt turned out really cute, and I love how the font turned out. I think it turned out super good, and I kind of can't wait to put it on some more stuff. So until next time, thanks for watching. See ya!